Chingus, welcome to this political, historical, and sociological channel. Today, the topic I want to share with you is a little sensitive because it's about how the World Health Organization Treaty tried to strip nations of their sovereignty and create a totalitarian world state. Secret negotiations were recently held in Geneva, Switzerland, to discuss proposed amendments to the international health regulations of the World Health Organization, known as WHO, considered a binding instrument of international law. Similar negotiations took place last month to draft a new World Health Organization treaty. While the two are often combined, the proposed IHR amendments and the proposed treaty represents two separate but related sets of proposals that would fundamentally alter World Health Organization ability to respond to public health emergencies around the world, and critics were significantly strip nations of their sovereignty. According to the author and researcher James Rosky, these two proposals will transform the WHO from an adversary organization to a global governing body whose policies will be legally binding. They will also greatly expand the scope and reach the IHR, institute a system of global health certificates and passports, and enable the WHO to order medical examinations, quarantines, and treatments. These proposed documents will give WHO the power over means to production during a declared contingency, will require the development of the IHR infrastructure at points of entry, such as national borders, redirect billions of dollars to the hospital emergency and pharmaceutical industrial complex, and remove mention of respect for the dignity, the human rights, and fundamental freedoms of individuals. Francis Boyle, J.D., Ph.D. professor of international law at the University of Illinois, said the proposed documents may also contravene international law. Boyle, the author of several international law textbooks and expert of biological artifacts, spoke recently about this kind of dangers and potential illegality of these two proposed documents. Meeting in Geneva from January 9–13, 2023, the World Health Organization International Health Rule Review Committee worked to develop technical recommendations to the Director General Tedros. The first international health regulations were promulgated in 2005 in the wake of the first COVID and entered in force in 2007. They are one of the only two legally binding treaties that the World Health Organization has achieved since its creation in 1948. The other being the Framework Convention of Tobacco Control. And this framework already allows the World Health Organization Director General to declare a public health emergency in any country without the consent of that country's government. Although the framework requires that the two parties already attempt to reach an agreement. Boyle said he questioned the legality of the earlier documents, citing, for example, the fact that the proposed WHO treaty violates the Vienna Convention of the Law of Treaties, which was ratified in 1969 and which Boyle describes as international treaty law for all states of the world. Also, Boyle explained the difference between the latest treaty and the IHR proposals. The WHO Treaty will establish a separate international organization, whereas the proposed regulations will operate within the context of the WHO we have today. However, he said, having read both, it is this distinction without a difference. But I'll explain it. If either one or both will establish a totalitarian medical or scientist police state worldwide under the control of Tedros and the World Health Organization, which are basically a front organization for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, known as CDC. Tony Fauci, Bill Gates, Big Pharma, the biological industry conflict, the World Economic Forum, and the Communist Chinese government pays a good part of their bills. They say they are enemies, but they are exactly the same because they want a world government like this communist system, but they, as a government and staying in the top, are living like capitalism. Either they will get the regulations or they will get the treaty, but both are existentially dangerous. These are truly dangerous, existentially dangerous insidious documents. Either or both will establish a totalitarian medical and scientific police state that will be beyond the control of national state and local government authorities. The discussions for both and the proposed amendments to the IHR appear to follow a similar timeline to be presented for consideration during the World Health Organization World Health Assembly on May 21 of this year. According to WHO, the international negotiation body IMB are working on the treaty will be presented a progress report at the May meeting, with a view to presenting its final outcome to the 7th World Health Assembly in May of 2024. This will create a legal binding framework convention that will deliver enormous additional legally binding authority to the World Health Organization. The WHO's 194 member states, in other words, will agree to surrender their national sovereignty to World Health Organization. This will dramatically expand the role of the World Health Organization by including an entirely new bureaucracy. The Conference of the Parties, which will include not only member states but also relevant stakeholders, because this new bureaucracy, according to Roski, will be empowered to analyze social networks to identify misinformation and disinformation in order to counter with his own propaganda. For example, I will disappear my content. World Health Organization currently partners with numerous such organizations, such as the fact-checking firm New War. For this purposes, One Health, a creation of the WHO, is described as an integrated and unifying approach to balancing the optimization of the health, people, animals, and the environment that mobilizes multiple sectors, disciplines, and communities, and is particularly important for preventing, predicting, detecting, and responding to global threats to health. In addition, Bell said this treaty will be different from many others international agreements, in that it will take effect immediately, violates the normal process for ratifications of treaties internationally under the Vienna Convention on the Law of Treaties, and also under the U.S. Constitution, which requires the U.S. Senate to give its advice and consent of the terms of the treaty by the two-thirds vote. Indeed, Article 32 of the proposed treaty, as to its provisional application states, said the next. The treaty will be applied provisionally by a party consenting to its provisional application by notifying the depositary in writing at the time of signature or deposit of its instruments of ratification. Hence, approval formal confirmation or accession. The committee working on the proposed amendments began its work on October 6 of 2022, according to a WHO document, and has met 5 times since then, including this week's meeting in Geneva. Non-JAP were barred from the meetings. Sincerely, who of these people have all the JAPs? It is only water with salt. If the proposed items are submitted to the 76th World Health Assembly, they could be adopted by a simple majority of the 194 member countries. They seek to eliminate 3 very important aspects of our life: the respect for dignity, human rights, and fundamental freedoms, from the text to the AHR, changing the text of the IHR, changing the IHR from non-binding to legally binding, and obligate nations to assist other nations. Essentially, the WHO Emergency Committee will have the power to override actions taken by sovereign nations. The proposed amendments will also shift the HU's focus away from the health of actual people to give a top priority to the resilience of health care. And this will establish a competent national authority that will have significant power to implement obligations under these regulations. During such actual or potential emergencies, the amendments will empower World Health Organizations to mandate a variety of policies globally, which will be legally binding on member countries. This will include requiring medical examinations or a proof of research examinations, requiring proof of jabs, refusing to let you travel, implementing quarantine and contact tracing, or requiring travelers to health declarations, complete passenger tracking forms, and carry a digital global health certificate. Competent health authorities will also be empowered to command their aircraft and ships, while surveillance networks will also be established to rapidly detect public health events within member countries according to the proposed amendments. WHO will also be empowered to participate in drafting national health legislation. The proposed amendments will give WHO the power to develop an allocation plan, allowing it to control the means of production of pharmaceuticals and other items during the emergency. And this will obligate developed nations to provide assistance to developing nations. They will facilitate digital access to everyone's favorite health records, and similar to those proposed in the pandemic treaty, will also facilitate censorship of any different opinion under the guise of the misinformation or disinformation. I will disappear with this kind of regulament of law. The 18th article states, a state is bound to refrain from acts of contrary to the object and purpose of a treaty when it has signed the treaty or has exchanged instruments constituting the treaty subject to ratification, acceptance, or approval until it has made its intention clear not to become party of the treaty. Become a party to the treaty. According to Boyle, a state signature does not provisionally put the treaty in force. And he said that we need to pull out of World Health Organization again immediately, like in Trump's era. In the last session of the Congress, legislation was introduced to take us out of the World Health Organization. We need that legislation reintroduced. I would really like to know in the comments what do you think about this, because this information is very important. But we do well define if the next year will be 2024 or 1984, like George Orwell has said in his book. And all our freedom, it's in the game right now. We need to take advantage of this kind of people that are trying to make us slaves of the system. I really like to know in the comments what do you think about this. If you like, I will love if you give me a thumbs up. Help me to share to get more people to know this kind of information that I think is very important. Thank you very much and see you next time. Bye.